on panellists for when you got yours. So that was a wonderful surprise to hear that you had. So again, congratulations. So I think Libraries of Sanctuary brings together two big things. The idea of welcome and the idea of looking at the needs of real people and what those real needs are. Rather than starting with some kind of rather woolly concept, they start by talking to people and finding out what their needs are, and then looking at how a library of whatever kind can start to fulfil those needs. And I think this is the first of my three big things, really. I think now more than ever, this kind of work is absolutely vital. When we're looking at a country which, I was born here, I grew up here, I think or thought I knew the country well, but there are elements of the country now which I really almost don't recognise. And some of the issues around what the media and the social media are doing around new arrivals, particularly refugees, horrifies me. And the way that those voices are being amplified by people, he said delicately, at a very top level, who should know better. If I say even the BBC, you'll know what I mean. I don't actually mean even, because the BBC has its flaws like any other organisation. But even the BBC will keep reiterating about illegal immigrants in a way that really annoys me every time I see the news, because it's perpetuating this idea that people are arriving here illegally and that people don't have a right to come here. So that strikes me as one of the key major things that it's important that we begin to look at and to tackle. I think that we've got some, you'll all have heard of the hostile environment and the impact that has had, and the increasing impact. So, yes, it was introduced as a strategy back, actually probably as early as 2005, 2006, but picked up in a big way around 2010, 2012, 11, 2012, with the horrendous impacts that that's had on all sorts of communities and their lives. And we've seen that echoed, amplified, whatever, by the so-called Windrush generation and the things that happened to people who came here, were welcomed here and came here legitimately, and then suddenly found they somehow had lost their right to be in the UK. And there are major issues in there that I think the big we, need to be thinking about and tackling. So I think those two, the media and social media view, the way that we have been pulled into a political drama that's probably not of our making, certainly not of my making, where we're trying to deport people to a country that's been declared unsafe, it just seems to me entirely wrong, and something that we need to be providing evidence of support for, to show other voices and to show what other things are happening. And my final point in this sort of little sub bit is this library exemplifies it. We're part of a wider world, so I'm not going to upset people around Brexit, but it seemed to me a bizarre decision for the country to have made. And what we've reaped ever since have been issues around behaving as though somehow we've brought all the blinds down and we've kind of locked ourselves in, whereas we actually know that we need to be reaching out and meeting people from other places. And this library just does that, sends that message beautifully. It's not about being in a kind of sealed room. It's about how we reach out, how we meet other people, what we can do, what we can share. So that's a long ranting point. That was my first point. My second point is a really quick one. People, and I suppose I mean people in libraries, talk rather as though the kind of work we're doing here and the kind of work that Libraries of Sanctuary celebrates is new. And it's that, I don't know, partly people not knowing their history and not knowing that anything came before them, and partly a sort of almost carelessness about what we've done. So I'm not going to do the history now, you'd be here for the rest of the week probably. But we know that libraries in the UK have provided a welcome for people since at least the 1940s, when the Polish Circulating Library set up and welcomed people who had either fought for the UK during the war or become refugees from Poland post-war, and provided library books and materials for them. So we know that from the 40s onwards, there's a long history of providing that kind of support and that kind of wide range of services to meet people's needs. As I touched on right at the beginning, one of the things that does worry me is that we go through so many cycles. If any of you have either do or have ever worked for a local authority or a council, you'll know what I mean. So like everything's in this really strange little world where we're doing something for maybe next year at the latest. The sort of work we're talking about here and the sort of work we're talking about welcoming new arrivals, in my opinion, needs to be something we're thinking about for the next 10 years, next 25 years. I can remember back in the 1990s, some research was done to look at how as a society we